Hello everyone, this is a very brief review of post-structuralism and postmodernism. I'm going to ask that you focus, you scan the material, you read the introductory text for these chapters, and do not over-concern yourself or obsess over some of the language. It's rather thick. I'll talk about post-structuralism very briefly for a few moments in this video. Structuralism, according to structural functionalism, which we've studied earlier with Parsons and so forth, has a slightly different meaning in French intellectual traditions than it did in American intellectual traditions. When French are talking about structuralism, French intellectual thought, they're talking about language, okay? This is a theory about language, okay? Do not worry, do not obsess or invest too much energy in figuring all of this out at this point. But I just want to kind of give you a very quick overview, right? First of all, Saussure, who was a French structuralist, focused on language, okay? This is a theory about language, okay, and meaning, okay, and how language and meaning are used to assert power. So in terms of, if we compare it to Marx, it's different. Power for Marx laid in economic arrangements, material arrangements, ownership that was real. For a structuralist or a post-structuralist, power lies in language. The ability to manipulate language and to have your narrative be the dominant narrative. So basically, what are we talking about? Well, we need to first define structuralism in terms of French intellectual thought. Ferdinand Saussure, the French structuralist, talked about a signifier and a sign. Okay, I hold this up. What is it? Well, if I flip it around, it's a coffee cup. Okay, I'm drinking coffee out of a mug. Okay, that is the sign. Okay, the actual physical object, my coffee cup and my coffee in the cup, are the actual physical object or the signifier. The sign is the language used to describe that. For example, in English, it's a cup of coffee. In Italian, it's tazzo di caffè. And in Japanese, it would be kahe. They borrowed the word from European traditions. So, again, we have a sign system. We have both the actual coffee in the mug, right, and the words that we use to describe that. Saussure made the observation that these are different, okay? But structuralism, French structuralism, emphasized shared meaning. We all know what I mean when I talk about a cup of coffee. Post-structuralism offered a critique of this shared meaning, okay? And with that critique comes an analysis of how power is used, language is used through power, okay? Power is exerted through language, I should say. Okay, so what does that mean? I can say coffee, and coffee can mean I drink my coffee black with no sugar, no cream, unadorned. But some people, when they say coffee, they're talking about a delicious frappuccino with caramel syrup and whipped cream and et cetera, et cetera. Or an iced coffee that you get from the convenience store, Starbucks. All of these can mean that there's a lot of fragmentation in terms of meaning. All right? So the post-structuralist analysis looks at how language fragments, changes, and delineates different sorts of meanings. Okay? So please do not obsess about like the details or what does this word mean? Is this going to be on the test? Don't just know this little bit of what I'm talking about and read the introduction to post-structuralism, okay? Now, again, in terms of power, the intellectual project says, if you control the narrative, you have power. Well, let's look at the example of fake news. Who controls the narrative? It's really not, even though people want to argue about facts or what the meaning of the word is, the reality is there is an objective reality. I mean, either the person got shot or they didn't. What happens, though, in terms of what the post-structuralist analysis, not whether the content is true or not or whether it's fake, but which stories get reported and which don't. So the people who own media outlets are very powerful because they can determine, on a mass level, what you think is important and what you think isn't. Now, I had you read, please follow up and read the module where I had a link about Mark Zuckerberg and privacy. Well, what does privacy mean in this post-structuralist? Well, one of the prime theorists is Michel Foucault. That's how you pronounce his name. He talked about a panopticon. He was looking at prisons, okay? And basically, what he said was this, okay? People are punished, changed over the past 2-3 centuries, okay? We went from hanging people to what he considered to be an incarceration of people that was more humane than hanging, certainly, but where people could be monitored in what he called a panopticon. They're monitored all the time. He went further to say that the way people are monitored in a prison, that's translated to the entire social life, public social life, public spaces. So, okay, what does that mean? That means then that you're monitored all the time in some way. Okay, and that's the problem with Facebook, right? People are monitored all the time. What they say and what they do on a social media platform is monitored. So let's take us back to this idea of language and diffuse language, okay? Meaning not being agreed upon. That's the post-structuralist focus. Privacy then becomes the definition becomes up for grabs. What privacy? Whose privacy? Privacy from what? And privacy to do what? You see, there's no answer to that question that's where there's a shared consensus. And at the very least, there's no shared consensus between different aspects of global society. In other words, in Europe, they value the old definition of privacy more than we do in the United States. So the language used to describe privacy, the narrative is controlled by the people who own Facebook, number one. And number two, the focus of, or what the meaning of privacy is different. There's no agreed upon consensus about what privacy is. So this is a kind of direct video. I haven't edited it. I will edit out some of the blurbs and erps and vocal tics that I have as you watch this. But this is the post-structuralist / postmodernist video. Don't concern yourself with any more than that. Okay, thank you.